Hello, hello, Bottoms. Welcome to another episode of the Bottoms Up podcast. I am your host, Taylor, and we are here for our first talking head, our first bonus episode of season 2. And yeah, I just want to talk. I have some things to say. I have some things to say. But first, let me get out our housekeeping items real quick. There won't be, well, now as you know, there won't be like a little true announcement section on this episode where I go through the events for the upcoming week. But I will be having a post on Monday, the day that this episode comes out, that'll outline all the events coming up. Because, obviously Valentine's Day is on her way, one of my favorite holidays, if not my favorite holiday. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some fun events, both for couples and for singles, that I definitely want you guys to come out to. In addition to that, I will be having T back next week for another episode of T Talks. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it. She is my sounding board, my rock, my lifeline. So I know she always has little tidbits of wisdom for us. Okay, that's it. Let's talk about my ex. That is actually like a little bit of a clickbait title. Not a little bit, it's a lot. It's a lot of a clickbait title. It's a very big clickbait title. As we all know, I am very much like healthy and healed. I don't like to have toxic conversations, and just generally speaking, I'm not just going to use my podcast just like talk poorly about somebody in my life. Like that's not what I do. But I wanted to talk about just some feelings that I've been having lately, especially around that relationship. As we all know, maybe not as we all know, but as some of you know, she had recently pop up like back in my life within the last like couple of months. And I think that experience plus some things that happened in my life directly afterwards were very eye-opening. And so I just want to talk about it, and I want to share those feelings and just share what's been going through my head. So very broadly speaking, just to kind of give enough context, we dated for a little over 3 years. I met her when I first moved here for school, and honestly, it was pretty much like love at first sight. But I mean, yeah, like I wanted the relationship with her. I enjoyed it. We were very compatible in my eyes, especially like even on paper. Like I would say that, we were just very compatible people. We started dating, it would have been the end of 2019. So like just before the pandemic hit. And I think that also impacted the dynamic for sure. I started therapy at the end of 2020 because that's also like my mental health was really going downhill, and I knew that I needed something. So I started therapy at the end of 2020. At that time, I actually felt like I remember telling my therapist like, oh, I feel like I'm not over my previous relationship, the person who I dated before I dated my most recent ex. I said I felt like I was bringing things from that relationship into the new relationship. And my therapist was basically like, oh, well, tell me why you feel that way. Like why, like what's happening in your current relationship that makes you feel like you're bringing in energy or behavior from the previous one. And so I laid it out, and he was basically like, well, actually the problem is your current relationship. And I was like, no, I don't think that's it. I think the problem is me. I think it's my brain. I think it's my reactions. And I think it's my attachment issues. And he was like, yeah, you can think that. But like, here's what's actually happening. And he was very, as I guess like for therapists, like they can't tell you like, oh, break up with this person or something like that. But he very much made it clear that he did not like her. He actually told me straight up that he did not think that we were compatible, which he was right. But I didn't like the way he said it at the time. So I didn't really take it to heart. But yeah, it was almost like every time that I thought that oh, this is just like a regular relationship issue. This is fine. We'll work through it. Like my therapist eventually was like, hey, I don't like the way that you're being treated. I'm going to be so honest. And I was just kind of like that was like the eye-opening moment for me, that like I think when someone put it into words, I was like, oh, okay. So I broke up with her. It wasn't the cleanest breakup. I think that I definitely could have done that a lot better. But I think I also just, at that time, I really didn't know like what I wanted to do, because I still wanted the relationship, but I was convinced that, oh, like if we just give it some time, if I give her some time and if I have to give her some space, and if I take some time and I take some space, then it'll be fine. So when I initially broke up with her, I was kind of more leaning towards like a more of a break than a breakup. So we did that. And then a couple months later, we were talking and she asked, like where I'm at, how I was feeling. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know like what I want at this moment. Cause we were at a point where we're talking about like moving in together. So, leases were coming to an end. And other life things were making progress. So there needed to be like some certainty there. And I just didn't have an answer for her. And so maybe another month and a half passed, and we were having another conversation, and I just didn't like the way that she was speaking to me personally. So I was like, you know what? Actually, no. Like, I don't want to continue with this. I don't want this. Like, I'm done. And that was it. So yeah, it was like a 4-month long breakup process, which is very lesbian of me. So at that point, I really started like dating more, in terms of like, being on the apps and things like that. I did my rounds. It was a very miserable process, as I have spoken about previously. I did eventually, since we broke up it was like September of 2023. And then no, we broke up in September of 2022. And then 2023 was the year, like by the time the summer hit, got off the apps, started hanging out with people, built my own, support system, got more friends, really started finding my community, because I realized that was a thing that was truly missing for me. And then later in the year, I started my little podcast. I started this podcast, Bottoms Up, and now we're here. And now we're here. And you guys have been a part of that portion of my journey thus far. So here's where it gets a little, not a little honest. It gets very honest. I don't like saying this, and I feel like it's not in the back of my head anymore, but it was in the back of my head pretty much all throughout 2023 and a good portion of 2024. So after we're broken up, we're not in a relationship anymore, got rid of some stuff that she gave me. I had some of her stuff still in my apartment, so I gave that to one of her friends. There was this lingering feeling in my mind of like, oh, I kind of want to get back together. And I think initially I just chalked it up to like, well, this is somebody who I was with for a long time. 3 years is not insignificant. I don't care what anybody else like tries to say. That's not an insignificant amount of time to be with someone. And in that time, we're like, you're with someone and you think about your future and you see them in your future. You see your future with them. I'm going to be so real. I looked at a piece of land in Virginia. It was like 6 acres for like $50,000. And I was literally designing like the whole house and the barn and like everything. And I was like, oh, I kept telling her, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a little project that I'm working on. But in my mind, I was like, no, this is our house. Like I'm designing our house. Like, I think I even asked her at one point, I'm like, no, this is getting way too into it. My bad. That's not what this is about. But it's about like the intensity of those feelings. And then it's like, once the relationship ends, now this entire future that you planned out for yourself is not happening. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. So you kind of have to like sit there and rethink it. And that was a very difficult feeling to be present with. And I think like I gave myself a little bit of grace initially, because if you just broke up with someone and kind of like, the adrenaline like goes away and then you think, oh, I kind of want to get back together. I feel like that's like pretty normal. I feel like that's fair. Do we agree? Do we agree that that's fair? Yeah, the voices agree that that's fair. I didn't beat myself up for it, and I'm really glad that I didn't. If anything, I feel like my reaction to myself, like with having those emotions of not being super shameful about it, of not just kind of like burying it, but really sitting with it and accepting that that was going to be a part of my healing journey. I think honestly that's evidence of me healing. That's evidence of me becoming a lot more emotionally in tune with myself, and frankly a lot more emotionally available to myself, because there is absolutely no shame in feeling like you wanted to get back together with someone who you were dating for a substantial period of time. There's nothing wrong with feeling like you want to get back together with somebody who you truly and deeply loved. Honestly, I feel like it's kind of weird if you don't have that feeling. like But I don't like it's the human brain is very complex, and there's like a lot of crazy complex things. And so when I initially had that feeling, I was like, okay, this is probably just me processing the breakup, processing the grief, and this feeling will eventually go away. I didn't get mad, I didn't get upset, I didn't get angry, I didn't judge myself, I wasn't hard on myself. I was like, this is just a feeling. And it probably came up maybe like once a month. I would think about it. When I started on medication in September of 2023, there was a period of time where I just genuinely had like no interest in anybody. I was very much like, it was a very like weird time, but again, I was taking a lot of time to really be in tune with myself, to take care of myself, to be kind to myself, to really grow my self-worth, again, grow my network, grow my self-esteem, make friends, make connections. And then I think like by January of 2024, then I was like, I think I kind of want to get back together with my ex. And I think I rationalized it. Okay, here's the thing. Again, nothing wrong with me feeling that way. Absolutely nothing wrong. But I did sit with myself, and I was kind of like, why do I want this? Why does this feel like something that I want? Why is this something that's kind of like bugging me in my brain? Because of course, again, went through a period of time directly after the breakup where I was feeling that way. Started taking care of myself, started doing better, eating better, working out, everything, getting friends. And it's like, oh, I don't care about that. And then it just kind of, it popped up again. And again, I try to be like really in tune with myself, both like physically and emotionally, or I'm like, why is my body, like, what is my body trying to tell me? What is my brain trying to tell me? And again, I think that I just perceived us as being so compatible that I think I really took it very personally when my therapist said that we weren't compatible. Because he wasn't even like, it's not like he said like, oh, you two just not going to work out. He just said that, oh, like sometimes people just aren't compatible. Like when I was feeling really sad after the breakup, and he was just like, yeah, like sometimes people just aren't compatible, and like that's okay. I'm pretty sure I told him that he was wrong, even though, spoiler alert, subtle foreshadowing, he was right. But I really thought that we were so compatible. And it's so funny because she was, I would say like my second serious relationship, but definitely like my longest relationship that I've ever been in. And we were very much like, farm girls. Y'all know me. I love my horses. I love my goats, love my cows, hate chickens, love my quails. And I felt that because the big thing in my mind was that, oh, because we both like want to farm, because we both like want to have land, and because we both had experience like in that industry, I felt like us wanting a farm together in the future was like the pinnacle of compatibility. I was like, oh my goodness, she's a farm girl, I'm a farm girl, we're gonna be farm girls together. Meanwhile, I can't think of a single woman since then that I've met and gone on dates with who hasn't wanted a farm. So now I'm realizing that that's just a lesbian thing, and I was just being a little bit stupid in that regard. But again, when you're with someone for 3 years, like, yeah, like it feels like you guys are it, you know? So I gave myself space to have that feeling, and I kept thinking about it, and I kept mulling over it. And I was like, should I reach out? Should I reach out? It was just on my mind. And I think where I hesitated was I told myself that I didn't think that I could be a good partner to her anymore, because I was nervous that the distrust that had built up when we were initially dating, I was scared that like if I went back into the relationship with her, that I was going to carry that distrust with me and that I wasn't going to be able to let things go. And I was like, it's not fair for her to be with someone who frankly is like so resentful. Like that doesn't, I was like, no, like I don't want to do that to her. It just didn't seem fair. To give myself a little bit of credit, I was processing a lot of these emotions on my own, actually. I don't think that wasn't really, like, it was happening so infrequently that it like wasn't really at the front of my mind to bring up like during my therapy sessions. So I was processing it on my own, and where I kind of came to the conclusion, I just realized that like I was never taught how to end relationships with someone that I deeply and truly loved. Because I did truly and deeply love her. And even when that thought was coming up of like, maybe I should get back in the relationship, both times I was like, I love this person, I want the best for this person. Do I want to, no, I want to, yeah, I was like, I kind of want to be with this person. I kind of want to be back in the relationship with this person. And again, I put the onus on myself to say like, well, hey, I put the critique on myself. I said that I wasn't capable. I wasn't even thinking about what she was capable of. It came to me. I was like, the way that I feel and the way that my brain works and the way that I handle things, I was like, I just can't do that. I can't be the partner that she needs. And again, I was still giving space for that thought, but I was like, I'm not gonna reach out. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna do anything with this feeling right now, because it just didn't feel right. I feel like I just needed to explore it more with myself. And like the more that I explored it with myself as well, it's not even that like we aren't taught how to end relationships with people who we love. We aren't even taught how to end relationships with people who don't love us. And that's why so many of us are ending up in these situationships, or at least like that's part of it. Because some people also just lie and love bomb and do weird shit. But I think a lot of what I was taught, and like a lot of the media that I consumed as a child was so focused on relationships. It's like anything that was happening on like Nickelodeon or Disney Channel, which is most of what I watched, because those are kids programming. Of course, that's what I watched as a child. You could not watch any show without there being some sort of multi-part romantic subplot. It's boyfriends and girlfriends and maybes and exes and breakups and fight. And it's like, it's all so intense, when the reality is that the relationships that we have with people, it's not so cut and dry. It's not like you break up with somebody or you cut somebody out of your life and that's just it. And you stop thinking about them and you stop dealing with them and you just like automatically hate them. And it's so funny because I feel like the media as I was growing up was very much saying like, oh, you've broken up with somebody, they've completely left your life. The ex has absolutely like zero relation to you. You like they're gone. And then conversely, oh my God, I'm forgetting my words. On the other hand, what I was hearing with my peers at that time was a little bit of a pushback against this idea. Well, why can't you be friends with your ex? That's somebody that you had a relationship with. Why can't you just be friends with them afterwards? And so now there's this push of like, well, no, you break up with somebody, you don't just hate them. Like they're still in your life. They're still important. You're still friends with them. And it's like there was no room for the in-between of like, this is like a little bit awkward, don't know what to do here. And it's so crazy because that in-between is the reality. Like that's life. Relationships, romantic or otherwise, are so complicated and they give us this very complex set of emotions that nobody taught me how to deal with. No one. And I'm like, I guess it's like, I can't be angry about it because it's like, yeah, I figured it out after thousands of dollars of therapy and a year on an antidepressant. So yeah, like I'm okay now, but it's just like, oh man, like I just wish that I'd had somebody kind of like helping me or like teaching me how to navigate that, or even just telling me that like, hey, it's not so cut and dry. That like, yeah, as much as I was the one who ended that relationship, and honestly, yeah, it would have been like very toxic of me to kind of turn around a couple months later and be like, hey, let's get back together or something like that. So like, but I almost feel like my argument then would be, if someone had taught me about like the complex emotions that just happen around relationships, then like I wouldn't have even been tempted to like get back into a relationship. I would have had those feelings, and again, like I just would have been like, well, those are feelings that you have sometimes. Those feelings are normal, you know? Like I'm glad that my therapist like was helping me out in like so many other like areas of my life, and like helping me understand my feelings in so many other, like on so many other fronts, that, you know, again, I was able to kind of process that little portion of things on my own. And that's not to say that like there isn't like a little bit of shame there. I mean, y'all heard it like literally when I first started talking about this, like there definitely still is that little bit of shame there, that like I wanted to get back together with my ex, who I should not have. I should not get back with her, like absolutely not. But again, I'm allowed to have those feelings. There's nothing wrong with just like having those feelings. So that brings us a little bit closer to present day. As I'm kind of navigating this mildly pervasive thought through 2024, August of 2024 hits. And mind you, our anniversary was like August 21st. And we had a Google Calendar event saved for it. So that event was out of my calendar a long time ago. I went in, deleted it. I was like, I don't need to see this. I don't want to see it. Like the relationship's over, so I don't need to be, there's no reason for this to be here. In August, I was leaving work and I saw a notification from Gmail that there was an update to that event. And initially, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, she's probably also clearing out her calendar. And I felt a little guilty because I'm like, oh my goodness, I hope when I deleted it, it didn't send her a notification. Because like that would be kind of shitty, right? And so I opened the email and I see that she had edited the event to end the day before what would have been our anniversary in 2024. Let's rewind. We broke up in 2022. It takes multiple steps and multiple decisions in order for that notification to hit my inbox 2 years after the fact. There was the option to not, if you ever edited a Google Calendar event, or you know, if you haven't, when you go and you edit an event, even like a recurring event, it gives you the option if you want to send the update to the guest. It's a little pop-up. It doesn't do that automatically. It will not automatically send that update. So she had to have actively decided to send it. And even then, I still gave her the benefit of the doubt. Took a screenshot, sent it to her, and I said, hey, did you mean to send this to me? Because I thought maybe, just maybe, she's in her healing era. Maybe this was a cathartic decision for her, and she just didn't realize that it was going to get sent to me. And there was no response. And knowing her, no response means that it was done on purpose. And not only that, because I know I shared on my Instagram story like how I was feeling after that instance. She did it again. So that double confirmed for me for another event that was a shared event between us. Again, that was off of my calendar, but she decided to go in and edit it. She did it again with another event, like a couple, maybe like a month or two after that. And my initial reaction was, again, to give her the benefit of the doubt. And then when I realized that it was done on purpose, I felt very angry. I felt very betrayed. I guess I just didn't understand why. I was very confused. I think where I struggle a lot, because I'm someone who loves very hard. I'm someone who I love to pour into other people, even when they don't pour back into me, but like I always constantly working on that. I just didn't understand why she would go out of her way to hurt me. It just didn't make any sense in my head. And honestly, to this day, it still doesn't make sense. I don't mill over it the way that I did when it initially happened, but like it still does not make any sense to me. And in general, that's something with a lot of people in my life. Like I have a very hard time seeing when people are intentionally malicious with me. And then additionally, I have a very hard time accepting when they are. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is about me. Like, but I really struggle with that. But then it's like after I got through just the emotions of being like, why are you doing this? The next feeling after that was like to judge myself, which probably wasn't the best decision, that's the thing. It's not a decision. But it's like, that's what my brain like jumped to next, because I couldn't believe that for 2 years after that breakup, even if there was that little bit of like gap of time in between, but for 2 years after the breakup, I was still thinking, you know what, maybe I do want to get back together with her. Maybe I do want to get back together with this person who has now decided to attempt harassing me over Google Calendar, which is such a modern statement. Can you imagine explaining this to somebody? Can you imagine even explaining this to somebody who was like an adult in the year 1995 to be like, hey, so my ex is harassing me via Google Calendar. Sorry, my ex is trying to harass me via Google Calendar. I actually tried to explain this to my dad. He didn't get it. My dad is a rocket scientist, and he could not understand this dynamic of lesbian dating. So yeah, I definitely, I felt that shame in that moment, because I was just like, I can't believe that this is somebody who I wanted to be in a relationship with. Not only somebody who I was in a relationship with, and who I thought to myself, I'm like, if we just have space, if there's just time, if we have time apart, if we have space apart, maybe things will get better. Maybe we'll be able to get back together. That was the vision that I had in my mind, that once we have enough space apart, when we mature a little bit as people, that we'll be able to get back together. And the thing is, while I was sitting here maturing, growing, finding my community, doing things to myself, she wasn't. And that was a very difficult thing for me to accept. And like I said, like it just adds to the complexity of the emotions around relationships. And I just, oh my goodness, I wish I had been prepared for this. Like, I really wish I had been. Because yeah, that was hard. And really, I wouldn't even be talking about my ex like this had it not been for this experience that I've now had with her, within the past, what now, 6 months? Yeah, because this is August, it's January now. No, oh my God, it's February. Oh, February 2025. But yeah, it genuinely, like, it kind of broke me. Like, it really hurt. And like, initially, like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have texted her like after the first time, because it's kind of like what people say, like, oh, if someone does that, they're just trying to get a rise out of you. You know, they're trying to get a reaction out of you. And I reacted. But at the same time, I'm like, of course I'm going to react. Like, like, I'm not the bad one for reacting to this. Like, I'm not the bad one. Like, I'm not wrong for responding when somebody does some weird shit. Like, that's not like unbecoming or anything like that. And like, I hate this narrative that it's like, you can't let them see you weak. It was granted, this is more so in like straight relationships, I will say. But this idea that like, oh, if somebody like wrongs you or like trying to mess with you, like, or tries to hurt you, like, you can't show it. Don't show the emotion. Don't show that you're affected. And it's like, yeah, maybe not to that person, but like, damn, like, I was hurt by that. It was really hurtful. She did something to hurt me and I'm hurt. Like, I can't pretend like that wasn't painful, because again, it's not just like her behavior and my response to it and what I have to accept as my reality because of how she behaves or because of how anyone behaves, frankly. But like, I also had to sit there with the shame that came as a result of experiencing that. And I'm not gonna hide that, I guess, like, just to, I don't know, like, pretend like I'm like nonchalant or whatever. Because y'all know I'm not nonchalant. I'm very chalant. I have a lot of big feelings. I have a lot of big emotions. And I especially, you know, when I talk about relationships, whether, you know, it comes down to like romantic ones or friendships, or like even though with family and things like that, I need y'all to know that like, there's no sexuality or gender attached to these types of conversations. These are things that everybody needs to know, like, or at least that I think everybody needs to know. Like, these are my experiences and my observations that I talk about, because I feel like nobody else spoke about it and nobody else like gave me what the context would be for this portion of life. So yeah, I want to share it because I want to validate the feelings that others might have, the complex and big emotions that other people might have about these kinds of experiences. And I want to be there to say like, hey, like, you know, I'm going through it too. Went through it, been through it. And you know what? I'm on the other side of it. I'm on the other side of it, and I'm doing like so much better on the other side of it. I'm so much happier on the other side of it. And just like generally, I will never regret loving somebody. I will never regret showing love. That's why, oh wait, here. I have like so many of these. Look at this. So I have like 4. But yeah, I will never regret love. I will never regret wearing my heart on my sleeve. I will never regret being chalant. I think the world could use a lot more love. And if I got to be the one to show it, then I'll be the one to show it. You got to be the change you want to see in the world, as they say. But no, I'll never regret showing somebody love, even if they are no longer in my life. Even if the relationship ended on very poor terms, which has definitely happened to me in the past year, especially towards the end of last year. I lost quite a few people out of my life. But I think it's also a testament to where I'm at, where I can lose people, but I can still look back at the experiences that we had, and like, I can still enjoy that. I can still enjoy the memories. I still have pieces of other people, of gone people around my apartment. I still have certain mannerisms, certain words, certain hobbies, certain habits that I carry from people who are no longer in my life, people who I don't want to see or hear from ever again, but I don't hold any malice towards those parts of me, you know, because it's like everybody everybody that you meet, you take a part of, if that makes sense. Like, you grow. I don't know, how could I say this? It's like we're all mosaics, we're mosaics, and we're constantly swapping pieces out and adding to ourselves and becoming more intricate and more complicated, and this like very like beautiful end pattern. But it's like no part of that pattern would be complete. The pattern itself would not be complete without all of those little parts and pieces. So I'm absolutely like not going to shame myself for having bits and pieces from people who are no longer in my life. And truly, especially the thing that I have learned over the past 2 years of growing as a person and of healing as a person, and now we're about to hit like 3 years post breakup, like two and a half, a crisp little 30 months. Yeah, crisp 30 months. Oh God, where was I going with this? The result, or one of the results, of us being in this society that prioritizes being in a relationship over being in a healthy relationship is that some of y'all are holding on to some things that you need to not be. Holding on to some things and some people and some women that you really need to not be. Because while my therapist can't tell me or anybody else to end a relationship, this is my podcast. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I'm gonna be so real. Some of y'all irritate me, like really. And it's crazy because like, I remember like last Valentine's Day, I kept seeing so much content on Instagram, especially, that was just bitter. Like it was, there was this one audio going around, and it was like the caption would always be like, oh, like when your friend is telling you about like their first Valentine's Day with their new partner, and the audio was just like, ha ha ha, it won't last. Like it was very much like giving negative Nelly, giving bitter Bethany. And it was just honestly like really gross. And I was like, I don't want to like, get this away from me. I rebuke this energy. Get it away from me. I genuinely, it's like two sides of the same coin. Y'all are so relationship obsessed that on the one hand, you'll stay in a relationship that is absolutely not serving you. And then you come to somebody like me and you complain over and over and over and over again. And I can say this because I was in it. Because I've been in it. Okay, so I'm speaking from experience. I've been on both sides of this issue. Y'all will be in these relationships that you don't like with people who frankly don't even sound like they like you. And you want to come to me and vent and rant and rave. But when I say end it, now I'm the problem? And the thing is, I'm such a caring friend. I love everybody. Everybody in my view, again, has the potential for growth. But I nor you, neither of us have to sit there and watch that growth happen. We can be in Ibiza. We can be single in Ibiza. Yeah, you can do that. And then again, it's like these very bitter people who see relationships or see someone in a relationship and they're just filled with like the jealousy and the hatred of that. And they respond to people in their life who are in loving relationships, and respond to it with like so much negativity. Y'all are the same type of person. And I'm going to be so real. You bitches are so bitter. You bitches are so miserable to be around. So miserable to be around, because fundamentally both of y'all lack so much as an ounce of self-love, so much as an atom of self-love. And it's truly, I'm not going to say embarrassing. because that would be mean. Because again, we live in a society that does not teach us the importance of self-love and doesn't teach us the importance of platonic love and platonic relationships. So no, it's not embarrassing, but it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm very worried for you all. I say all of this with love. I say it all with so much love because I love everybody. But no, like I'm being so real. Like Valentine's Day, and like we set up these things, like these little like cultural jokes, like, oh, like Singles Awareness Day is February 13th, or like Galentine's is like on a different day than Valentine's. And I'm like, again, it's not to shame like these practices. Like that's not the point here. But I'm almost like, do we need to add more things, or do we just need to realize that like Valentine's Day is encompassing of love, all kinds of love, because love is an all-encompassing feeling. You can love so many different ways. You can love so many different people. And really fundamentally, all the love that you give to other people does not, it cannot manifest without self-love. Self-love is like the purest form of love, and not ego, not self-obsession, but just self-love, being honest to yourself, being emotionally available to yourself, being time-wise available to yourself, pursuing the things that you want to pursue, exiting scenarios that don't work for you, and then also entering the scenarios that do. So like that's like, I think, yes, as much as I wanted to talk about just like the complexity of going through this breakup and all the emotions like that are around it, it's like I really can only do that when I loved myself and when I gave myself the space to feel all those things and to recognize that like I also don't have to have it all figured out. Like literally, even if she had not edited the calendar events, yeah, I'd probably still have like those complex feelings where my brain was saying, hey, like maybe you should reach out to her. Like maybe you want to get back together. And the thing is, I still would have given myself the space to figure that out. And frankly, I'm actually really, I'm not gonna say I'm glad that she did that, but I feel like it really gave this sort of like finality to things to tell myself, no, I actually don't want that. Like I actually do not want that. I do not want that at all. And it's made it that much easier to pursue other people. And I honestly like, I know, the universe and all that stuff. Oh, I didn't read my horoscope. I'll read my horoscope after this. But just like, yeah, like, it's like everything happens for a reason. Because I pulled some cards in November, December, like early December. And the conclusion from those cards was that the end of 2024 was going to be very difficult, but that I was going to have the skills, that like I have the skills in order to deal with it. But then that 2025, again, 10 of Cups, that 2025 would be very fruitful for me. Not in like a luxuries kind of way, but just that things would kind of progress in various parts of my life, which I'm very excited about. And I do feel that. But I feel like last year, like really closed out that relationship for me. Oh, which is like, maybe we both haven't grown, or I guess up until last year. But yeah, maybe we both didn't grow over the 2 years. And this was really what I needed to say like, hey, snap out of it. But really, it's like closing that chapter has given me that much more ability to hold space for new relationships. And I think that my ability to date intentionally and to pursue those relationships intentionally was probably going to be hindered if I still had that thought in the back of my head of like, hey, maybe I kind of want to get back with my ex. And like, again, in hindsight, it's almost like maybe the true feeling there wasn't that I wanted to get back with her, but that I wanted to get back to a version of my life that I was so familiar with and that felt comfortable. Because change can be very scary and progress can be very scary. And as I said before, the idea of pursuing new relationships, while not scary, once the option is put in front of me, I'm kind of like, now I'm scared. Now I'm nervous. Now I'm anxious and avoidant, which is a great combo to have in one tiny little brain. But we're doing it, and we're pursuing it, and I'm open to what this year has in store for me in that regard. Not only with like dating, and I'm also like, I feel like everybody wants to be in everybody's business. I will say like 2024, like as a year overall when it comes to dating, was, I think, very fruitful for me and very positive for me. I had a couple different experiences with people that just felt so healthy and so normal, and that didn't leave me absolutely emotionally drained by the end of it. And I'm very grateful for that, because I feel like this was really the first time that I was able to experience secure attachment, which is crazy to say as a 27-year-old. But I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for those people. And I had a good time. I had a good time in 2024. I can't deny it. So yeah, like I think I do genuinely feel like now I am in like a really good spot to try to pursue an actual serious committed relationship with someone. And that feels like very nice. It feels very nice to be at that point. And also shout out to my therapist for holding me down. Appreciate it. Thanks, homie. Okay. Let's read my horoscope, because I'm giving myself a headache at this point. I'm also very hungry, and I didn't do an outfit check, which, like, okay, that too. For this season, I feel like I want to be better about like my fits when I do episodes. So like this is my fit today. This is my Target square neck tank top bodysuit. Have my typical jewelry on, my hoops and my chains. And then I have this, like, I'm gonna be so real. I've been loving this little belt from Ross. I love it so much. And then I'm liking layering it with stuff. So I layered it with this Goodwill belt as like, like a little moment, a little swoop. And obviously my Old Navy jeans, which I have forced these things to go up in size as I have gone up in size. So yeah. All right, let's do my horoscope. Let's see what if she has bad news? I'm feeling really good right now. This is actually like a really fun episode to talk about all these things on. Oh my goodness. What does she have to say to me? I'm scared. Please be nice. Oh. Oh, good afternoon, Taylor. It's 78 degrees and sunny. Today at a glance, the way you think is valuable. Thank God I'm a yapper. Do humble brag, self-portrait mirrors. Ugh. Don't. Pointless spending, bragging, backtrack. Okay, I actually want to read like the whole big one. How do I do that? Oh, here it goes. Today you are being pulled in different directions and nobody agrees with you, okay? Your belief that worries go away when you stop thinking about them is making you isolate yourself. Slow down. Let someone appreciate your variety of interests. This month, you have to decide between being eccentric on the surface and being fundamentally unconventional. You're at your worst when you isolate yourself into loneliness. Check your ego. The broader focus of your life during this time is to focus on reaching fulfillment through spirituality. Attending to words and their actual meaning leads to clarity and direct communication. All I'm hearing is be open to communication with other people, be open to relationships with other people, be vulnerable, be available, and be willing to let love into your life. All forms of love. But really, truly, start with self-love because you deserve that. So that'll be it for this episode. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at bottumsup.pod. That is bottumsup.pod. If you want to suggest a topic, if you want to be on an episode, if you want to compliment me, you can send me a DM. You can also shoot me an email, bottumsuppod@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify, I think you can rate podcasts. Give me like a thumbs up or like a 5-star. I don't know. I don't know how it works on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm going to be so real. But if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to give me a like. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Trying to get this little podcast out there. I'm actually going to advertise myself this season. I'm going to put my whole ass into it. I'm going to do it. So yeah, I appreciate the support. Y'all know that I love you. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.